Okay, kita kena eksimatsim puan sake kiskanatun matemot. Tak kita tu magagutu manst puan nisto Niitsi'posin Strategy ko itumi tapim nahniksis sako tamarka Niitsi'posin kinitapin skatsim Louise Marie Croppierdolf barikakayim ungsi nitakkax kiniksukoax nititskinokia Angie kakitsinamia Angie but nitaniko Louise Marie nuhtut sitapi mamioiks ki Niitsi'poiksi Tajas tawas nachsix Niitsi'poiksi uhanatusks nimatsaya kiotkaisa matutaisita piueksa Niitsi'posin eka Aitsi'poyiiksi kenskei nistur Niitsi'poi kitoutusks nimatsukorsi Maduksknipni tahanstanstud 7, Mataitstapiukstaks. Situtusknimatsuko age 7. And they chitamatapsknimatsuko takayapi puis kitakitayapi sinax. Kito matapapu si sam amoy nitapu taksin. Ito matapapi 2021 itania niksi Blackfoot Confederacy na Genevieve niskayawatatstum kistunun aksika kimo akkansi umiksiokakstimax akkuksa kisupuksiak tumatatstus. So 2 months, June to July 31st, chitamadapapu takspinun. Chitapesupukti spinun. Ken te tomadapapu chisinun. Chitsupukti setenun. 8 umkitapiks, kaksistu kamungsiakiksu, chitskakayamungsi ninek, sama pesi. Ki chitukuskni pinun nike ungsaukakstimax takkukinun taktuatatstussinun. So on 2022 nite 15 ninex ki 8 akiks gumsti interviews ahanstakoya 50 badumsti nikaexistutuitskatu pinun or nikaexistaktu pinun Niitsuya 6 sikakakuma pium Niitsi'poiksi pinun Niitsi'poiksi pinun taksikakuma taputsi sinun sinexist kasumi COVID-19 anne ikakakuma pi chite matstahpinun ungsumkitapiks takuanstsinun o takesupuhtisatsinun kakayimiksikupumia sama pesi stenstiksims wa umkitapiksan akstamumata isupuksi sataya takitotsi pinun tsiniksuaest. So on samudutsikatu pinun. Lenuksitapeksim iksunnatakayemumiksi sitapiks itstapistawata itstapisuata takan kipitapukayo chistawakya umaksueks uksukueks Aitsi'poyiiksi. So anniksai nokchitiksim so an samumataputsi pumi ske na be books in categories. So 30 to 40 matapiks ki 40 to 50 nikstunataqayim ekakupitopi aitsinikuaya mat intaxim staya matimitot stuyim stakititsiniks. So aniksen htaisupuksi sataya. Ki domata nuksitaxim umsti themes eko utakutipuispua. So umi oral history and the chitesat chipstanskim swalumsi ta pakata pipitsinixist pre-contact, ki treaty, reservation, residential, gan sistigo. Gumixi de Niitsi'pohsin tawan staya makita sisitapi sa Niitsi'pohsin kistunun kistunate kistunat sukitsinikia. Taksinaksapi descriptive. You could almost feel the emotion and everything. So when they tell me these stories, I draw from all that. I want to know the day. I want to know the time. I want to know the weather condition. I want animals involved. Because after we use these stories, you'll see, why I want to collect all that and the different age groups is those stories with the beauty of our language and then translate it into English in the best that I can. Each of those stories contribute to a story that can be written in English, but written from a Ganaki perspective. And I'm a fluent speaker. I have done this. I do translations as well. And for anyone who is interested or has anyone, I continue to network. We have information on the screen. You can contact me by email, Todd and I, or at the administration to book an appointment with Todd Eaglechild, and then we can set up an interview and acquire more interviews. We will now show you just a snippet of the recent interviews that we did that were in the 50 to 65 category. We have two interviews that we will show just a bit of it, just to give you an example of what I ask in the interview so that the interviewee is identified. And then we will show you the final product, how each of the now existing 60 interviews that we have, they will be translated and the video will be produced, edited, and yeah. So we'll show you a sample of that. Thank you. I think it's like 3 minutes, so that kitkunek simatsimhua ki tikutaksitak kitkutitsinikus nitaputaksin. Again.
Okay. Gusto na ko nukes ko na staw. Dito to chitapi a gaxamax. Nen nan staw ipamoh kami. Japins kasim Art Healy Jr. Kinexis dan staw Clara Healy. An uchich the pins kasim an staw kutan. Mi chichipuka a koch kimia bio. Ki chichistawas a gaxamax.
Okay, itamix kanatoni. Okay, ni stonna kok kimmataki. Amok nitsinskak kimmataki. Anahkog nitsista namitapiaki on imitaikoat. Anahkog anak nitnokkitsi aanatsimuk kimmataki. Takke maatameits tujim spaatsit. Takke mok ikipatuusi. Nitsituuktuukkia nitsista namitapiaki. Pikani nohtuuktu.
Okei, niksoukaa no koossak. Nyt stooput kuuksikinnäkin. Okei, niin nohanest se, no kun muuksau taanihpee. Nohanest skniipee pahtomaksikki meni, niitä se tuut kuik joupee. Mistä kohtakaan niitä sen ihkä tuumia ips tsekkui. Mukaan niitä pikaipuuksi, niin ips tsekkui, no muuksei kaahsi, no kaakski nimää. Kakkumaa peamukko hooki buksa buhtsi käiki tse nyt ihkä tuupa pahtomaksikki. Hän nimestä kun säkimskauhki. Mussi niitä tästä. Hän nimestä kun ei säkimskaa. Hookispa piemmutsiima. Spumita piiksi. Ispa piemmutsiima ei. Kun aamianisti piiksi. Kaapumahkäiksi. Pajottäiksi. Sitä piiksi ooki sahkummita piiksi. Haamukseispuksiipuima ooki sajaski. Itkanais sitä piukan humi. Itkuunihpi vahtomaksikimme muuksia siitiksemmiksi kaasiitiksemmiksi. Siikukkien jutsippiiltä mippatsiaappi. Kaksi nauskeita päin ooki minskui. Tämä pippatsiaappi vahtomaksikin mauskeita ei tautu johkuun nimää. Ookiksiski maappi. Ei niva hän nimää, mutta sitä aukkussi. Se on mautstuisikin nimää käytetään päiksikin maa pahkat ei ohkaimskaa. Ei niva. Ookivista pakkiuhtsimää punnukkaiksi, mutta sitä Matsknäks niitä äkskimatpää. Mutta uhtoahkahpääkin täissommatsiäks. En nimetä. Ooki, mutta siitä pakkiuhtsia. Matkutais sitä pää. Mistä sommaksikin näks. Sitä mippatsiaaksia muka eikski kiosatsi. Onko se mistä sommaksikin näks. Ooki nimä matkutsaakka poi naamskiiksi. No hauksi kattakai tsinupia muhkana toapi naamskiiksi kaatuimma ja no niin kaatitsi mistä ohkitannes siitä kipinaapi kai no kitoksokuisku ja naamskiiksi niin muhsukuja mahtai kiitavaa tuossa ihtsohpatsa mutta kisnaamat toatuimma ja kiiksi pissä taapsia muuksi naamskiiksi. Ooki mistä kisi matpappiin mutsima. Ihka näin ihkaasima niitä ihka tuupia matapia niitä kutpia niin ihkaasi niitä töitä mistä kisi. Nohon ennen ihkaista kun naspia mistäkin. Hän on kanahka niitä tsetspitavak. Ooki mistä psääkin mohtsin ihka jouksiksi mistäkin. Kiitos okne mauhkin ja ooken okenahkaksi siikin ja vaikka. Ooken ohne otsitsihpin ja kaita piskui. Niin ikä ei pampisti, mutta taamissa me anna apatusohtsi. Hän okenahka sääkin mauhkin vaikka. Ooken minusta siitä on taakin vahtomaksikin, missä on mitään mahkoukia. Aama apatusohtsi, niin ikä ei tuomisti mistä. Hän okenahki tsoh. Koppiak. Knään ihkaasimi muussi mistä kisti. Houkimia skaapanista tohtsen huomikistuna on nohki tää kaakjoppi. anno kanahka awa kaak. O kirista pomska pohtina ka ninasta. Ka sai kanani ka sima. Ydä monesti sknani matapi ni man stasknochi ja. Itä kahkuita peuta pisna saukis kohta kana kokana ka paiu ka osi. Matkana sknimia. O kimuksi stais ta piupiksi piiksi punukkaiksi nioa. Kristakia kuksoi mammeiksi. Piittäiksi muksi kaikki niiksi oukineiksi ei niitä piittäiksi. Niiksi ei stais sitä piuppi muisti joksoa saat. Tän.
Oki niksoqua nistuan koka startsistayaki Genevieve Fox nikusta kakitapoyaki okia ninna matsuapinamahka okia nikaikusama puutsihpamorka sknimatstruksin okia koko sinanix nitasknimatsaya ok anorka niksi sixigate kanakkaatsi xanikseni taspomuanerk anikis sknimatstruksin okia akainakissamu arkai ai istukistui tartau iukskastui nikaya titrkanupihpinaan dekaksistui ihpinaan niksi nitorpoka puutakimaaks kiniksi kinninaks titrkanupihpinaan titaatsinikuutsi ihpinaan kiaman nakkai sitapi sukstak akseppiiman oksissikoi antanstskinuanna natuenki okia annoki itumatapsaportsi kina makinima itumatapitsinikuiwai itumatapanitsiwai okiansi iskortak Niitsio kianniksau kiaikstanati ika kimaya ikitsinikuutsia titar na isksurkitsiman itani amikskei sukapi an kianstaatsinikpi kistunnan akstorkutkan orkanuppa akitumatapa apsatsip akitumatap sukutistapitsip aamusti iskortik niitaatsiniki anakumarkitapi okianniksi iskinimmiksi niitaatsiniki akit koko sinaniksi akit sukutistapitsimia kenchkai nitrtumatapapputsihpa na kaanau tania oktakitsinapikistakspinan ani maskak seppumorkuinaan ispinaan tikoma tiksi semikorkaika kimarpinan taksuka puutsissinaan ankianistipu tuukipinaan situmatapapski situmatapsinak okia umansta ukamansta anniksi orkut tarkanistorkut orkuutsimarpi takita puutsihpamorka manistiksimsta torpinnaan anni orka tarkokanista puutsihpinnaan okei taksinaksaapi poi takun tak titsaamme parti poi ne kustomo kaka eniksamak Okay, greetings to all. I'm Startsistayaki, Genevieve. Some of you know me as Patty, and that's my childhood name now. So I've outgrown that. So I've taken on my grandmother's name, Genevieve, and I've got all my grandmother's names. Stachtzistayaki was my great-great-grandmother's name, and Nachkayakayim, that was the name of his wife. So the many bears are my close relatives. And Utakuike Saki was my great-grandmother, my grandfather's mother, Miatsi. So that's one branch, but it'll take me all day to tell you the rest, so I'll stop there. But a few years back, we were, after one of our meetings with our leadership, a group of us went for dinner, and I think we were here in Lethbridge, and as we were having dessert and coffee, Roy started telling one of our young people, Natuanchki, Kaysen McNeely, Jim McNeely's son, ano ka kawa awachtuanch ka simia ko hatuansta bitayuch kutuk naka Kaysen. So that when you see him, that's his new name. And so Roy and Kaysen were sitting there, and Roy was telling him stories, and then Jack and I were sitting there listening. Everybody was really intrigued and listening to the stories that were being told, and so that's where the direction I got from our leadership at that time was that we begin to find a way to ensure that our stories are not lost, so that we begin to record and interpret and translate them to the best of our ability. And so that's what we did. I called on everyone, the four nations. We met in Calgary, and I think I had called on at least two people from each nation. So I had about 25 people in Calgary, and we started explaining, this is what we can do, this is what we can do, this is what we're doing on our nation. And so that's how it started. And then we called on everyone to a gathering in Calgary. Everyone came together. We had about 60 people in that small room that we had, and we had identified certain speakers to come and share their story, their information, that they knew about how we became as Blackfoot people, as Siksikaitsitapi, how we became the four nations. So each of them had some stories, and then there were some that told other some of the stories that we learned from, like different stories, like Napi stories and others. But mainly what we were looking at was to find those stories that made us who we are as Siksikaitsitapi, identifying those different locations in our territory that had the information. Prior to this, Roy and I had developed some videos. The first one was called Itapisco, and we did it through some of our friends. And this was before Roy decided to come back as our leader. And we went to visit a few sites, and at every one of these sites there was something special that happened, that took place. So that's why we called it Itapisco. And then we thought, well, we've got our young people. Our young people need to know the story. So we got the high school, Kanai High School, to help us. And we developed another one called the Vision Quest. And so that one, we worked with the students, and the students were the ones asking questions. So we've got those. Those are available to everyone. Those will be put on the archive that I'm developing, and I'm hoping to have it up within 2 months. So I think you can see the archive. This is the model I used our landmark, our logo, and it has the 4 nations on there. And this is what I'm using as I'm loading the information onto this archive. So it'll be up on the website, maybe if you move forward. So those are some of the 4 areas that we're looking at, is the history, the culture, the education. You know, these aren't written in stone. I can change them. If you feel that this is not appropriate, then let me know, and we can identify and work through it. So this will be on the education website, and when you click on any of these, it'll lead you into the next one. So one more. So it'll lead you to the history, and at each of these, if you click on any of them, it'll lead you into another page that will have that information there. And so, like our knowledge keepers, these are some of the interviews that we did the first time we had developed this archive. I have developed one for the high school, and so that was my idea. I asked our technician, "Can you do one for the Confederacy?" Because I think that would work. So the collection of stories that we are getting will be loaded into this archive. So not only each nation could develop their own. If they wanted to use this model, they could use it. So it is available. So these are just a few of the ones that we had done. I'm not going to show any. I'll show you something later on. So keep going to the next. So the language will have the books. There's a number of resources that are out there. Our educators are always asking for resources. So I'm going to put it together on this. And then there's videos, like the videos I mentioned that will be there, the ones that we had developed, and there's others that have been developed. The late Narcissus had given me a video called Gas and Nonix. So I asked our technician, "Can you put this on there also?" Because it was one that we had shown years ago at one of the conferences here in Lethbridge, and we brought the whole conference out to Aitsi'poyiiksi. And we showed the video as the buses were taking the conference delegates out to Aitsi'poyiiksi. And so that video will be one of the collections that we'll put there. And then there'll be links to others. So if you have any videos, if you want to share them, we'll put them up there in this archive. And it will be accessed by password, because a number of people, they take our information and they develop resources and whatnot, and then they sell this information back to us. I believe our esteemed author mentioned that too. So that is something that what many of our elders used to say, I don't want to share my information, because then I'm not even mentioned as a resource in the book that was developed. So, these are some of the things that we don't want to be gatekeepers, but we want it to be available to Aitsi'poyiiksi. So, go ahead, keep. So I know we're doing a different map. Our lands and territories section at the Confederacy have identified our area to be way larger than what's shown here. So I told my technician this is going to change. So I'll keep going. So, and then I have a researcher who's been identifying and researching the treaties that were made with our people, with other people. So this is where those treaties will be loaded onto. Keep going. And then we thought, well, the culture, we have the arts, we have many artists, we have many people who want to share maybe even some of our prayers, could be in the spirit, the earth. some of the petroglyphs, pictographs that are out there, our sacred sites, and in our community, keep going. I'll show you where the community can land. So these are just some of the things, the sacred for the spirit, the sacred places, and which I'll show you a brief video of some of the places we went to this past summer. Keep going. And the earth, where are we in Xakkum? Where are we located? And where's our territory located in relation to Xakkum? I worked with one of my friends from the University of Calgary, and we worked on identifying and defining the word education. And we presented that last week at the education conference. So we've got that, and that will be part of this and how we're situated with others in the world, and what the word education means in those different languages, different cultures, and so on. So that's another one. Keep going. And then media, we have lots of interviews, lots of other information that's out there, and and we want to load this with that information. So it'll be available for not only our educators, but for anyone who is interested. Keep going. So, and then education, like we want to have a place for all our schools, what they are doing. If they want to showcase something from their schools, there'll be a place for them here. Yeah, keep going. So, and so this is the logo that I'm using, and just keep going. Yeah. So each nation will have if you click on their nation, it'll take you to that nation, what they're doing, and links to whatever they have on the website. So that's the archive. And okay, so we're done there with the archive. And I just want to briefly show, Roy mentioned, Makinima mentioned the tour that we had this past summer of our students. And I have two technicians here too. We have Tracy Weaselfat, Natui Sapu, and he's the one, my video technician, and I have my sister Sandra. She's my my interpreter and translator for some of the videos that we have done, similar to what Angie has done and Todd. We've been doing that too. So we have a whole collection from each Confederacy nation. It's not just centered on Ghana, it's from the whole Confederacy. And hang on. During COVID, we had started with a large gathering. And then after COVID, we thought, well, okay, we can't have more than 5 or 6 people together in one room. So we called on maybe one elder or maybe 2 elders, and that's how we did the taping and the video recording. We had the video technician, we had Sandra, myself, and the elder. And if the elder decided to bring someone, then there'd be 5 or 6 of us all together in the room. Yeah, so that's how we followed the protocol. Worried about getting our elders with the COVID. We did lose 2 to the COVID. But we have the recordings, and so it was a real loss. So that's why, when Angie said, we're doing as many as we can right away, so I wish we could have done that, and then travel was restricted. Many of the nations were closed to visitors, so it was challenging, but we did get a few. But this is the one that we did during the summer. We went to several places. We started in Amskapi Pikani. Yeah, go ahead. Amskapi Pikani, and we invited a few students to come along. We asked the educators to at least have 4 students from each nation. So there's some of the young people that came. Some nations, I couldn't get a response, and so we had space for some of the other really young people, so they came along. I don't know the audio's there, but you can, if you can fast forward. There.
Thank you everyone for being here and joining the initial tour of some of our special sites. Some of them are sacred and some are special in other ways. So the Blackfoot Confederacy, Jack, Genevieve, and the others are here. Wanted to have this this tour to take place. We thought it was important that you begin to know more about the ways of our ancestors, the sacred sites that were there, the sites where important things happened.
Maybe just a good historical point.
Good first stop. So, but no, they haven't really excavated there, and then behind there is Forehorn Lake or Owl Child Lake. So that's where they're doing the big water development. Supposed to be done in what, 2040? They're So it's called the Many Tail Feathers Buffalo Jumping. It was burned and last used in 1866. And then Big Lake, this was his wintering area of his band, and I'm trying to remember what band it was, but this was Big Lake's wintering area. So.
Okay, this site is a cultural center near Great Falls, and you'll hear why we have to correct.
Over the mountains before we got slaughtered. Those are documents.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, like, again, the white man's history, you didn't research our real oral history?
They said that they researched it when I started here, so I'm just going by
Yeah.
what they say they researched.
Yeah.
That's what I go by.
Yeah, and I'm an actual research historian, so I've researched back to 1615, and I've researched the tribes around us. And our first treaty of 1855, our first treaty was actually Fort Laramie in 1851, but we didn't go because Alexander Covers, who had married into our people, thought he was going to represent us, and he only had 30 days to notify the Plains tribes. So, and it took 30 days to get the Sioux across South Dakota.
So part of it is that we want our youth to know these sites, these places, and also to understand that the research that was conducted they didn't ask us. So they just did it from their perspective. And so what we're doing is we want to correct that. So that's part of what we're doing here. This is Fort Benton.
And there were so many in early Fort Benton. In fact, there was a census done in Fort Benton, not a federal census, but a local census done in 1878, so way back.
Yeah, the interest from the students, they want to go into those books. They want to find what's
Said
happening.
to be like a spokes on a wagon wheel with
That's where
trails leading in every direction.
That's where my great grandfather came to get his firewood. Brought it back.
Yeah.
Tatsy's song, John Tatsy honor song. Um, John was my grandfather. His dad was Joe Tatsy. His father was Joe Tatsy, and then there's Not Real Good, and then Not the Lista and him shared the same mother, Antelope Woman, or Red Deer, or yeah, and Antelope Woman was the daughter of Red Deer, and the father of all children was their father. So the book they talk about the 1907-08 family history book. It's part of the allotment record of our reservation, and his father was the person who gave the family information of that book. That book just gives the family, but it doesn't give how the family was connected, through sister, brother, well, we say adoption now, but it was, family. So that's where the song comes from, and it's actually one of the songs that came to our people on Bigani when my grandfather married a Sioux woman who was Sitting Bull's niece. And her brother, or her nephew named Alvin Warrior, brought the flag song we use in Browning, came from Fort Peck without the Sioux words. It came with Alvin Warrior, who was originally
Okay,
from
Todd,
Standing
is there
Rock.
any way you can fast
And
forward it just to the naming?
Alvarez, Tatsy.
Yeah, I know this is 15 minutes long, so I just fast forward it a bit. I know Wilton talked about it. Okay, a little more. Okay, right there.
That's the way.
Okay, that's fine. Just keep going. Just keep going. Yeah, so we're just going to fast forward it just so you have. These will be available on the. We had the knowledge keepers and others speaking about these sites that we visited. So it was really special, and our children that came with us, that we had 19 students. So they were really moved by the visit. We had our elders, we had Rose and Wilton was with us and others, and it was really special. It was so. Some of even the teachers, they were so moved by this visit uh, because sometimes it's just a dream that you hear about these places and you never think that you'll actually be there. So and when you get to these places and you feel the vibration, you know your ancestors were there. So it was really special, and I just wanted to say thank you to our committee here at Aitsi'poyiiksi, and all these videos that we're sharing. We want to share them with our educators. We want you to analyze them. If there's any lesson plans that you have developed from them, if there's a possibility to share them with the Confederacy, and we want to keep it going. I managed to find more monies, so I just received the information. So we're going to do this again with our students. So we have to meet again. Our leadership are the ones who give the direction, and we research the different sites that we can possibly visit, and then we start arranging. We have to book rooms. We have to ensure that everyone is going to be fed, that there's a place for people to stay, and all of that. And we take care of the mileage. So and then we try to give gifts to our students so that they don't forget anything that took place. So that's part of this journey that we're doing with our children. We want to visit our sites. We want them to know how large our territory was and is, and that we have to go back to these places because Sakya de Piscoya. And one of my late brothers, one of his sayings was always, if you do not go and visit the land is no longer going to recognize you. So it's part of our ways. Our ways, our teachings are coming from the land, and that's where we have to continue to visit these places and let them know that we're here, we're still here, that we still speak our language. Yeah, okay, thank you.